Welcome back, guys, to my second part of the video on Boolean operators. Today we will be looking at two things. The first one is a component called checkboxes, and you will see that they fit very nicely with Boolean expressions, etc. And then the second part is I want to introduce you to the show message procedure. What is a checkbox? A checkbox is something that gives a user a choice, either yes or no, true or false. We've already looked at something that we call a radio group, where we have given the user a choice to select one option out of a list of options. So the question is, how do they differ? So I have a picture here. The radio group has three options over here, but only one can be chosen. So if I select 11, 10 will be deselected. If I select 12, 11 then will be deselected, etc. With checkboxes, the user has an option to select more than one of the choices. So, for example, we can play more than one sport, but we can only be in one grade at the same time. So that's the big difference between the two. A couple of things to note when it comes to checkboxes. The first one is that, and I've mentioned that already, is that they're used to ask yes and no questions and receive that answer from the user. The naming convention is we have the prefix CBX and then we have a descriptive name. So in case of our example here, this would be CBX cricket, CBX hockey, CBX rugby, etc. Okay, then checkboxes have a checked property, which is of Boolean data type. So the property can either hold true or false, and it's that property that we will make use of when we try to find the response of the user. We can group checkboxes by placing them in group boxes. And the advantage of a group box is that it can have a caption that gives a little bit of instructions to the user, just like our radio group has a caption that we can display what this group box is all about. A group box itself also has that, and then we can simply place our checkboxes inside the group box, but I will show that to you just now when we look at our practical example. The second part then of this video is the show message procedure. A procedure is defined as something that can be called upon, but it stands on its own. It completes a task or multiple tasks, but does not need to be assigned to a variable or to a component. So we have had already a procedure called randomize. You can just call on that procedure or on that method, and it will then execute. In contrast to that, we have functions. Functions like our casting functions, int to string. That cannot stand on its own. It needs to, the value that we convert needs to be assigned to either a component or a variable. So just to introduce you to the whole concept of the difference between a procedure and a function, but we will in detail talk about that later on in the year and take up on it in grade 11 again. So the syntax, the way that the show message works is as follows. So we have the keyword show, or the procedure name show message, and then we have an argument that, or an argument that the show message procedure needs to execute. So it needs the message that it needs to display, and that is placed in brackets. Very important, it's of string data type. So here are a couple of things that we need to note. So it's a standalone statement, aka a procedure. It displays SMessage, which is of string data type. And then upon execution of the show message statement, a show message dialog box, which is a pop-up window, appears and displays the string as a SMessage. And then if you want to display strings with multiple lines, then you need to use the #13 escape character to move the cursor to the next line. There's also #9 that resembles a tab, so it moves the cursor a little bit to the right. I will show that to you just now when we look at our practical example. All right, let's bring out Delphi. There we go. So I've already created a form, and I've just placed some random checkboxes and group boxes on my form. Just quickly to where did I find the group box? So if you go over to your tool palette, you can simply start typing group box, and then you can just press enter. And then if you want to add checkboxes, oh, I put the group box now inside the group box, that we'll take away. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So, for example, I have these checkboxes now. I cannot simply put the checkbox on there. It will actually be either behind or in front of the checkbox or group box. It will not be part of the group box. But you can see these checkboxes that I've placed in here, they move with the group box. So how do I get more checkboxes in there? And it's very simple. You select the group box, and then you go to your tool palette, and you can start typing checkbox, and you can press enter, and you will see that another checkbox was entered into my group box, which is now part of the group. Another little hint that I want to show you is if you, and the check box is found under standard right over here. If you hold shift and you select the checkbox, look what happens. I can now place a checkbox on the form, and I can press again, and now I can put multiple, as many as I want on there. So it's not necessary to go and type in checkbox all the time. To deselect this, I can press this little arrow key on here, and now I can click on my form, and no checkbox will be presented. I don't need so many, so I'm going to delete all of them at once. Okay, so just to show you the different properties that we need to change. So if we select our group box, the group box has a caption, so we can say now this is select gifts, and then I can name the group box over here GBX group box. That was a WhatsApp that came through. Sorry about that. GBX, and then, for example, gifts. Then for our checkboxes, I'm not going to name all of them. I'm just going to show you one. So the caption can be like Xbox, and I will name my checkbox CBX Xbox. All right, so you can see over there. And then if I want the checkbox to be checked already, because everyone wants an Xbox, then we simply go to the checked property of the oh my head, no, I can't find it. I have to first select the checkbox. There we go. And there's a checked one, and I can simply select this, and you can see it will be by default selected. If I run the program, I can now check and uncheck this box as I wish. Okay, I'm going to delete this checkbox as well. Okay, then how do I make use of this? So I'm going to click on my button. Over here, I can, either I'm going to declare a Boolean variable be checked Xbox Boolean. Okay, I don't necessarily need that, and now because I can simply ask whether the checked property is true or false. But if I want to initialize p checkbox checked Xbox, I can simply say that is the cbx Xbox dot checked. So there we go. So whatever the checked property is of the cbx Xbox will now be written into my Boolean. And then I can ask an if statement, if be checked. And remember I told you that it's assumed to be true. So if I say be checked, it's like equals true. But I don't need to say equals true. Then, and now I'm going to use a show message. I have to just spell that correctly. And I can, because it's string, it needs to be in quotation or a single quote. And I can say your chosen gifts or gift is an Xbox. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. If not be checked, we can, why am I not getting, it's underlined, oh, be checked Xbox, there we go. Then show message, loser, no, I don't want to say loser, and I'm going to add now one of those, sorry, let me move the cursor away, #13s, that's now an enter, plus, and then I can say, why don't you, oh, and now here, there we go. See, I want to use an apostrophe for my word don't, but I don't, I'm not allowed to, because Delphi recognizes that as the end of the string. So how do I get around that? I can literally close this, sorry, and add a #39, and then I say, and I add don't. So this #39 is actually an apostrophe, so I'm adding that to my string. Don't, why don't you want to play? Okay, and that's it. Let's run this, and I hope I didn't make any mistakes. Oh, I did. Let's quickly see. Oh, a bracket that I forgot. It happens to the best of us. There we go. And I'm going to bring over my form. All right, so I can select and deselect. Now, obviously, I can select as many as I want. Obviously, in my coding, I haven't referred to the checkboxes. Let me just untick this and press the button. A message comes up now that says, why don't, you can see the apostrophe there, you want to play. And then you can see it's over 2 lines. If I check this box and I press there, it says, your chosen gift. Oh, my hat, my spelling. Gift is an Xbox. All right, guys, that concludes. You can do as many activities as you wish and as you have time for, but I'm not going to prescribe which ones. But try to do a spread from 5.8, 5.9. Even the guided activity is very beneficial for you. Thank you, guys.